Welcome to the Hollywood Persona podcast. Here are your hosts, Mitch and Ant.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Hollywood Persona. I am Mitch, and I'm here with my buddy Ant. Ant, how are you?
Hey, Mitch, great. Good to talk to you. We got a lot to talk about.
I've been waiting for this. I have ants.
In your house?
Yes.
Oh.
I've been waiting to tell you that on the episode because I wanted to say that, and it's definitely not funny, but yeah, I had to tell you that.
Clean your dirty house up then.
Trust me, I'm cleaning it like crazy. I put out ant stuff yesterday, and I haven't seen one in a while, but I have.
Yeah, they can be a pest, man. I don't know what to tell you.
They're big and they're black and they're
they're not the little tiny ones.
No, but enough of that. This week we are going to talk to you about some recent movies that have come out, like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We have both seen Humane, which is a Canadian movie that we are going to talk about. I forced Ant to go see. We're going to talk about Abigail, and then each of us have seen separate movies, Tarot and Poolman, which are in theaters now, and Unfrosted, and The Idea of You, which you can stream now. So we got a lot of movies to talk about. We're going to talk about a couple about what we've got going on. First of all, we have done our second round of the box office draft, and I will be posting that tomorrow. You heard us talk about it in the last episode, and we picked our movies. But I have our first few movies are starting to make money, and that's coming along. But we also are doing the summer movie wager along with the Slash Filmcast over there. We've joined their game, and it's been really interesting. Ant seems to think that I am an idiot for not picking Despicable Me 4 when he has it as his number 1. I have it as my number 10, which is really dumb, but I don't think I really thought about it as much as I should have.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know. I'm confident in parts of my list. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, you could be right. Deadpool and Wolverine could be number 1. That's possible.
I mean,
and Inside Out could be number 2. That's possible.
Yeah.
Furiosa, I'm getting less confidence for as we get closer to. I think, because I heard people talking about it, that, film Twitter, of course, is excited about Furiosa, but, remember the first one didn't do all that great, and, like, they're putting in perspective. Right. I'm like, shit, this might not be, like, the top of the box office. But, man, I hope so.
And then, we're going to talk, why don't you tell us your good news, and then we'll get into box office.
Sure, yeah. So, I'm so excited about this, man. It's just really, really cool. So a tool we use when reporting on or viewing box office is a company called CinemaScore. They've been around since 1979 or something, and they spot poll theaters throughout the country opening weekend of big releases. They have to be in over 1,500 theaters or more. Okay. And they take demographic data, but mostly it's known for A through F scores. Only 21 movies since 1979 have gotten an F. One of those recently being Mother, the Darren Aronofsky movie, which I ended up pretty much liking a lot. Yeah. But anyway, I finally saw someone, for all the theaters I go to, for how many times I go to the theater, I'm looking for shit like that. Like, I don't just go right to my theater. I wander around, pop my head in other theaters and stuff like that. Anyway, I finally ran into someone who was doing CinemaScore handouts. And I excitedly went up to him and just said, hey, this is so cool. How could I become a part of it? And long story short, I start on Friday. I'm going to The Strangers, that new Strangers. That's my first movie.
That's
and
cool.
I will be polling the audiences and taking back the data and sending it up to the mothership. And then that company then gives more data than they do to the public. But, listeners, you can go to cinemascore.com and see what the last 50 movies got. For example, the Planet of the Apes movies got a B. And companies use this for determining how much quote legs their movie will have. Usually, it's a pretty good indicator.
Yeah.
A B is not a good score.
No.
A B minus is even worse. Anything less than a B is bad.
Because you have to think,
yeah,
this is the general populace
exactly.
more. You're not getting people like Ant and I who are, we really think about the movies and, did we like it? What would we give it? Blah, blah, blah. These people are just walking out of the movie. They just saw it and they're like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really a score on, if you kind of break it down and distill it, it's based on expectations. What were they sold? What did they get?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works. So if a trailer misleads you, and that's that's one of the things that people didn't like about Mother, it was sold in its trailers as a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's not a horror movie at all. At all.
Yeah.
So that's usually what you get. Horror movies are the only exception to this. Horror movies can get D's, C's all over and still make a ton of money. I know it's really weird. But yeah, go check out CinemaScore. They have, they'll show it. But yeah, every week I look at CinemaScore to see what the score is for the movie, and now I will be contributing. And I was talking to the man who will be, I guess, my boss, and I said to him, "Hey, I have a podcast. Is there anything I can't talk about on here?" Or and he was like, "Thanks for asking." He's like, "Anything that's public information is fine."
Yeah.
Anything you're privy to besides that, he's like, I wouldn't want you to know what another city gave a score before we post it or something,
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's cool. It pays like $100 a movie. And then of course I get to see the movie for free. I can bring someone. He's like, you can bring someone if you want them to help you. And then you guys can both see the movie.
That's awesome.
And then of course I'll probably stay since it's like the 7:00 movie, maybe I'll pull that one and then I'll just go sit in the 10:00,
Yeah. You just start polling every single movie. You're like really obsessive with your job.
Yeah, we'll see, man. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Like I said, I start this Friday, so
that's so cool.
Yeah, and of course, I can do this with another job. So I plan to do this for a long time.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. Thanks, is so man. Cool.
I know. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
In other news, actually, let's keep on box office since that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, box office for last weekend ending May 13th. Planet of the Apes came in at number 1 with almost 60 million, which is really good. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, last summer, Dead Reckoning, Mission Impossible made almost only that opening weekend. And the Indiana Jones movie made only that. How is this good and that's not? Couple reasons. One is the budgets. Those budgets were huge because of COVID. They had to stop and start.
Right.
Whereas this movie has around 160 million budget, so a $60 million opening domestically is fine and decent for it. And comparing to last weekend, The Fall Guy, that opened with 28 million. And then another thing is the tracking. Box office tracking for this had it at like 50. So for it to come in over expectations is also better. So it did well. An interesting data point, though, and this comes from CinemaScore, 64% of the audience is male, which is a little too high for a blockbuster like this. I don't mind that. I'm a male myself. I like movies geared toward men, of course, right? Yeah. But from a business perspective, you want to be 4-quadrant. You want to be male. You want it to appeal to male, female, young, old. And 64% is a little high for male, and then 57% were 18 to 34. That's probably fine. But 44% of this movie's $60 million I just mentioned came from premium large formats like IMAX, like Dolby, like Prime, like RPX, and all the others. So with it losing a lot of its IMAX screens soon, the Blue Angels IMAX experience comes out this coming weekend. And If, I think, comes out this weekend. We'll get there when we get to
the Blue Angel. What's that?
Oh, those are the incredible Navy Air Force stunt planes, the blue and yellow planes. Have you not seen them?
Okay. No, I haven't.
They might. I mean, they're probably American, but they do shows all over the world, and they just do crazy acrobatics. They fly like wings touching under the Golden Gate Bridge. They do some incredible stuff. And there's an IMAX movie coming that's all about them, and I think will be incredible. I'm definitely going to go see.
Oh, that's cool.
So The Fall Guy fell 50%, which ain't that bad of a fall or of a second week. But with it having such a soft opening, that only added another 13.7 million to its total, bringing it to 50. Challengers is still holding at number 3, which is just crazy, showing how little there is in the box office for competition. Not that that's a bad movie. It's just that's a movie that would normally kind of hold the 7th to 10th spot. And then the movie Tarot, which I saw and I'll mention later, has 12 million. I think that's total. It didn't make 12 this weekend. It made another 3 or so. And that's it. That's all for the box office that's notable. There's more to it. Phantom Menace is still in the top 10. I went and saw it again. Oh, man, it is bad. It is so bad. I'd seen it somewhat recently, but this is Star Wars Episode 1. Those of you listening that don't know the name Phantom Menace, it starts out okay, but man, the moment they run into Jar Jar Binks in the woods, it's like, oh shit, this guy's going to be here the whole movie with his Misa and Doo and all that crap, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And George Lucas sucks for not taking in feedback that everyone hated him and still, forcing him into the next 2 movies. He's still in. He becomes a senator, I think, in the 3rd movie. Makes no goddamn sense.
But that was kind of like their way of like pushing him to the sideline a little bit.
Well, when you get to the 3rd movie, you would think after the first one, he was all like, "We need a character that's for kids," and it's like, dude, kids love the originals. There's no kids in the originals.
And even the other Gungans, like the other of the same species, they're super annoying too. And that whole thing, it was just. Yeah,
and the weird. CGI, man, the worst part about it, because, it's not too fair to complain about 20-year-old CGI, but when the invasion of Coruscant is happening, the plane, the big bulbous-looking gold ships are coming across the plane. It looks just like a PlayStation 2 cutscene nowadays. It's so bad.
Whereas, like, when they're underwater and they're being attacked by those fish... Like, that's not... The CGI there isn't that bad.
No, not at all.
It's like, you're kind of like, whoa, that was cool creature
and
stuff.
I'll say this, too. It actually looked better in theaters, because before The Force Awakens came out, I did a rewatch of 1, 2, and 3 with a friend of mine in Chicago. And, man, I remember just thinking, like, wow, this is it, huh? This is bad, because I hadn't seen it since 99, 2000 when I was a kid. So anyway... It sucks, but we have some other news, non-box office related to talk about. I'll mention this first one. This made huge waves because of its pedigree. Lord of the Rings is continuing their trilogy. No.
Well, now this would be the 7th movie made in that like franchise. With there is 3 Lord of the Rings
of this,
and the 3. Hobbit. No, there is no book. So they're going to call it, as of now, they're calling it The Hunt for Smeagol.
And Andy Serkis is going to play Smeagol
and
again?
direct.
And direct.
Yes. And, this is kind of, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of Lord of the Rings Facebook groups because I am a super fan. And this is kind of, it's mixed, with everyone. Like, people are kind of like, okay, like, we'll see it, but why this? Why are we doing this? And apparently I was reading that it has something to do with the rights. Like, they don't have the rights for like a lot of the other like books and stuff, or so they're like have to kind of make up their own stories and work around things. There's even like a Smeagol book that they like can't use. It's all a little confusing, but
he did direct that Mowgli movie, The Jungle Book.
Yes.
Which I remember liking, and then he also did Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which wasn't all that exciting. So we'll see. Like you said, we'll see it. And this can't be surprising. Like, they're gonna continue to milk things that are successful. Like, get used to it.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. Planet of the Apes is an example. That's been around since the 70s or whatever. Maybe even before then. So
I just think there's so many better stories in Middle Earth that could be told than going back to the well of Smeagol. But Gollum, but whatever.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was just wanted to say that Roger Corman died at the age of 98 this week.
Wow. 98.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd asked me if he was still alive, I would probably say no, but I had no idea. I've seen 4 of his movies. His most recent that I've seen. Oh no, was he an actor in that? But he was like the king of the B movie, and I've seen a couple of
Have you
those.
seen The Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah, so
Ugh.
I haven't seen that one. No, not the
Yuck.
this is the like original 1960.
With Rick Morales, right?
No, that was like the remake. That was a remake.
Oh, it was.
Um,
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. That was the 80s version.
yeah. So this is like the
Okay.
day the world ended, and Fast and the Furious, Galaxy of Terror, just very like creature features and stuff, and
Yeah, he's known for that kind of
the
stuff, right?
Wasp Woman, yeah. So, anyways, dead, gone.
All right. Well, 98 is about as good as anyone can do. So
Exactly.
I can't say I feel bad. He made it to 98.
He did. Good for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's jump into our main review. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I can set this up. We've got director Wes Ball. He's new to the franchise, but apparently he's been given the reins to.
Yes.
He did the Maze Runner movies, but now he's been given the reins to The Legend of Zelda.
Yep. The live action Legend of Zelda coming, which
yeah,
we're going to see lots of with Mario doing so well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So so they saw this movie and gave him, The Legend of Zelda. So that was probably a good sign for him. So this takes place several generations in the future after Caesar and all like the first 3 movies. This is like I think like almost 1,000 years later or more. Apes are now the dominant species. Humans are like they're talked about in whispers, kind of. It's like, are they really there? Sometimes, they're called echoes. I think now, they call them echoes.
Yeah, kind of like how we talk about maybe like giant squids or other animals that were around, like woolly mammoths, like stuff that we've never seen, but we know we're here. That's how humans are now on this planet.
Yeah, and and the humans aren't really the main thing now. What's interesting is now they live in a world where that is completely just basically apes. Like the humans really are nothing. Like where they were in the last movies, it was a battle between apes and man. This is more battles between apes and each other and stuff like that. So we have Noah is his name, is our lead what ape is I guess monkey
Protagonist.
and yeah, so they are attacked by a warring faction. They take a bunch of their people and destroy a lot of their stuff, and this is led by a monkey named Proximus Caesar. And so I guess there's monkeys doing stuff. I don't know what else I need to say. Did I miss anything?
What other characters are there?
So you got character named May, played by Freya Allen, and a character named Raka. He is another he's kind of like an orangutan or whatever, and he meets Noah, our lead character. You got his Noah's mother and father, and I don't remember their names. And then he's got a love interest named Anaya. But basically and then William H. Macy is in this movie. I don't know. I don't really want to give too much away about that.
You can leave his role a secret.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely in it as a human.
He doesn't show up until the last act, and but like basically the only human is this May, woman
And
who
her
is
group of people. They
yes.
show that in the trailer, I think, the running
Yeah, so
humans.
there's this, it's very mysterious. She seems to have something going on. Whatever it is, it's mysterious. You know that she's kind of following this our lead character Noah, stealing stuff. It's she's got something going, but anyways, what did you think of this one?
I think it's also important to say that the last movie concluded with um,
Yeah,
a
spoilers, but
virus. Well,
right.
yeah, but the humans in this world are plagued by some type of virus infection that causes you almost to devolve. You lose your sense of speech. You kind of go back to being a toddler-ish with your full body able to move. So the humans become subjugated by the apes.
Almost like they, to me, they reminded me of like Neanderthals. Like they were like almost de-evolutionizing. They
Yeah,
were, hairy and loincloths and just drinking water and running from the apes and stuff.
yeah.
And just to bounce off that, I just watched the original
Oh, cool.
Planet of the Apes a couple nights ago.
With who's the Heston?
Charlton Heston, and in that movie, like none of the humans can talk, and this is obviously a prequel to that movie,
Yeah.
set between both movies. So,
So I liked this one quite a bit. I went to see it with a friend of mine on Thursday night, and we were in a pretty full theater, which
mhm,
makes sense for its $60 million opening. Um, and I really enjoyed this. I had quite a good time here. The only complaint, which I'll mention kind of right off the top, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what I liked, is I think and movies do this so much now. They maybe spent a little too much time on building up the next movie or the series or whatever is going to happen after this instead of
mhm,
making just a good movie, which
mhm,
can be done just fine. And this movie, I would say, is done just fine with that stuff.
yep,
But with its length, I think it's almost 2.5 hours. If you could have cut down or out some of that stuff, you could have maybe gotten a little more out of your characters here. But the main things are the special effects are
oh,
incredible, really,
incredible,
really fantastic. I went and saw this in a Dolby theater, so it has two laser projectors that make like an 8K or 16K image.
wow,
And I like to go see movies like this in that theater. If it's not filmed for IMAX, Dolby is the way to see a movie for sure. And just really sharp and crispness, and you
mhm,
can tell they filmed a lot of this, most of this out in the real world.
oh
Of
yeah,
course, there's CGI because you have talking apes, but their expressions move. You and I complain about the Lion King, the newest one, and the
I
Mufasa one
literally
coming.
have that in my notes about how there's 10 times more emotion in the faces of these monkeys than there are in any of that Lion King
And
movie.
maybe these are primates and those are cats, but it's like
Yeah,
still they can do better.
yeah,
And here you can tell when an ape is sad or angry or frustrated.
yeah,
I thought the villain was pretty scary, Proxima.
yeah.
And I guess, my favorite part about this movie is the not said, it's not said in this movie, so it's subtle, which is nicer than being hit on the head with something. The commentary on uh, teachings of someone who is dead. Let's say religious somebody.
Right.
So the last
Yes.
movie we have Caesar. Last three movies we have Caesar. He's really cool ape, and his teachings are ape don't no hurt other ape, right?
Yeah.
But you have these two people in this movie, both saying Caesar is their prophet, and one uses violence and one doesn't, and
Yeah.
you can see how those worlds differ. And I thought that was pretty cool commentary
Yeah.
on humans. And that's the whole point of these apes, right? Is you make them apes and then they do human like things and we can all reflect and say, oh, we're just like the apes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Proxima says, hey, I'm following Caesar's teachings. But like you said, it's been 1,000 years and teachings get told by word of mouth over and over and things
Yeah.
get changed. And the Caesar we saw at the end of the last war for the Planet of the Apes would never go for what Caesar has, which is people under him, people working for him, almost as slaves. I will say he treated them a little better than the slave apes we saw in War for the Planet of the Apes. Do you remember? These monkeys and even the humans are allowed to roam around. They're not in a cage locked up at night. You know what I mean? Like they're out on that bridge.
Yeah.
In the last movie, they are locked in and they have other apes with pokers ready if you fuck up and get out of line.
Yeah.
Here, they have a little more freedom, so that was kind of nice to see that they weren't like in chains, you know. I mean, he even
Which,
has some of them to dinner with him,
yeah.
so he seems to be like not a Hitler style dictator, you know, who would kill even if they looked at you wrong,
Yeah.
which is good in a sense. But yeah, man, I was totally enthralled by this, and yeah, you know, I guess I don't care much for that May character, the human character.
Me neither.
She was just kind of boring and
I,
a
f- I, ca-
helpless who needs someone else. I don't know.
yeah, I'm gonna talk about that like at the end when like I'll tell people, warn people about spoilers because it kind of I
Yeah,
kind of
I'd
under
like to say a
yeah
couple things.
I kind of understand that. So, um, I really like this movie. About halfway, like I was dragging my heels. I didn't really want to see it. I did, but in my head, I was kind of going, the last three, they did a great trilogy. Do we need another one? Like, it's I feel like people are bored of this. Like, and I'm wrong because I didn't even put it in my summer movie wager. I it's completely not in there, and it might be top five probably highest grossing of the summer.
Yeah, yeah. I guess
And
there is an appetite for this stuff. I mean,
yeah, and I
people
think it's
like it.
getting good word of mouth. Like I just told a bunch of people I worked with how much I loved it and stuff. I really loved like the last I of course I liked all the stuff leading up to it, but that last act was great. The characters in this movie were great, like Raka, the orangutan, and
Hmm.
then our lead guy's good. He's kind of like a mini Caesar, like
Yeah,
wants to do right, and then where that all goes, and he meets this person Rocca, and he knows all about Caesar, and he's learnt and he's tried to spread the word of Caesar, like the actual word.
right.
And anyways, yeah, I felt like this May character, I felt like it was like we need to hire a pretty girl kind of
I really did feel like that. And you
at
know what?
times.
It just hit me. What I said earlier, if they cut out some of the world building, they could have given us backstory on her. We know nothing about her.
And I think though,
If I were to
yeah,
ask you
well,
to describe her character to me without saying what her profession is or what she's wearing or looks like, what would you
right.
describe her as?
Yeah, just kind
A
of
girl?
a girl.
Kind of
Like
like
she's
you can do the same exercise for Queen Amidala in Star Wars, which is
right.
why no one cares about her. We don't know
Yeah.
her. We don't know what she's like. What
Yeah.
are her faults?
Yeah.
Same thing here, right? We just don't know anything about her. She's just a pretty girl, and that's great.
Which
But
is definitely something I think I want to talk about in spoilers. But
yeah,
I I
and like with sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say,
mhm.
oh, with the demographic going to see this movie being 65% male, it's almost like, well, I guess having a girl can be geared toward a male audience. I was thinking like, did they put a younger female in this too, or a younger woman? I don't want to say female. Did they put a younger woman in this to try and be that four quadrant movie to get other women interested?
Maybe.
But she's an actress I don't recognize from anything.
No, me neither.
Um, but
I
yeah,
think I looked
so
her
I,
up,
I
but
agree. I did too. I looked her up. I'm like, who is she? What is she? I wouldn't say she was bad. I didn't.
no, she wasn't.
Her acting wasn't bad. But yeah, she just doesn't have much of a character to talk
Yeah.
about. So
No.
she's not that interesting to follow or care about because we don't know anything about her. We don't know where she
Yeah.
comes from. We don't even know her parents. We know she can talk, which is a difference from other apes, or sorry, from other humans. The rest of
Yeah.
the humans here are unable to speak.
The
So
best part
that's
of her
something.
character was how it affected other people, basically. She was like
Yeah,
a linchpin, like even Raka and Noah, and then obviously, Proxima Caesar. And yeah, so and how that goes. But I was not expecting that last act or even the last 45 minutes, like, when they get where they're going. And like I was like, wow, this is cool. This is very interesting. Uh, I I don't really want to give anything away, but they like a lot of their people are taken to the Like he basically has like a camp, like something you would see. Oh, what can I equate that to? It almost felt like Schindler's List kind of, but not like, with
Yeah, it's not a
everything's fenced
concentration camp.
in and
It's
they're
like
like like
it's
they're
like a
slaves
yeah,
essentially.
but like I was saying, they have some free movement.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can't leave this general area,
Mhm.
but it seemed like some of them could.
Yeah.
Um, but the threat of violence is there. So like,
Yeah.
you don't want to fuck up or misbehave because you can and will be killed. He seems to have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
But it's not like a concentration camp where you're just being huddled in to be executed.
Yeah.
Um,
I knew that was a wrong like term, but I couldn't really, because like they are being used for slavery at a lot of times, like
yeah,
like
labor.
to move things and labor and stuff, and
You know what it's like? It's like District 9.
yeah.
District 9. Remember that movie where the aliens come to Earth and
Hmm.
Brazil or somewhere, or yeah, Brazil, I think. Somewhere they just kind of
No,
it was South
Africa,
America,
wasn't it?
Africa. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Africa. They've kind of just fenced them in. They're just kind of like, all you aliens stay in this place
Yeah.
and we'll give you supplies and stuff to help you.
Yeah.
This is kind of what that on the beach looks like. It's a zoned off area where they have a particular mission. Proximus,
Hmm.
the villain, is working towards something, which we
Yes.
won't necessarily have to give away. And
So
what
the
he's
last
working toward, you liked. You liked the
Yeah,
result of that.
I was like, wow, okay, I was not expecting this at all. This is really interesting. This is something I didn't know I wanted to know. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, oh, this is so cool. I was like, I never thought of this, and obviously things like this would have been in place. And
Yes.
anyways,
I
I
think
just
the way that we reach that goal is a little silly that Proximus and his other apes wouldn't have found that already.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But
I'm
that's
gonna
just
say
movie
one
stuff.
more thing, and then we'll jump into spoilers, and maybe we can
Okay,
talk
yeah.
about that just
All
a
right, let's
little
just do
bit
that.
more. I just wanted to say, like, I think everyone should go see this. It's I'm between 4.5 stars on this, and I just wasn't expecting to. I wrote down, in the theater, I wasn't expecting to see um religious thoughts on religion and war and slavery, the treatment of others, and I also thought like maybe it's an allegory to how we treat animals in a way, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
um we see the way the apes now treat the humans,
Yeah.
right, who can't talk. There's a lot of themes there, and I was not expecting it, and I really appreciated it. So
I'm surprised you weren't expecting it, since that's kind of what we've gotten from the other movies. The slavery, the war
I just
commentary.
was I had very little hopes for this movie,
Mm.
so I think I was just kind of like, oh shit, this isn't a cash grab. This is a
Yeah.
deeper movie than
I
I
guess I
thought it was
didn't see
going to
the
be.
trailer, so I don't know what they show in the trailer, which you have seen.
Yeah,
Do you
the
remember just the
trailer just was kind of just, hey, here's more
apes running around?
monkeys,
Okay, yeah.
and I was like, okay, like they really didn't give an idea of what the story was going to be. So when I was
Okay.
really impressed by the story. So yeah,
All right. Well,
would
then you
you
want to
give
say
it?
a few things? What'd you say? Oh, I gave it 4. I gave it
4?
4.
Yeah,
4 out of
that's good.
5. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great
Yeah,
blockbuster. It's safe for all ages. Everyone should
yeah,
see it. If you're
yeah,
looking for a movie, go see it. I'm kind of surprised they released this on Mother's Day weekend, and Inside
yeah.
Out 2 comes out on Father's Day weekend. They should have switched
Oh,
those.
yeah, that would have been
Better.
Um.
Okay,
So
yeah. So if you don't want
spoiler
to hear
time.
any of the ending, we're going to talk about it. So just skip ahead 30 seconds
Yeah.
or a minute.
Um. I'll put it in the show notes. But in Planet of the Apes, there is the main female character in that movie.
Nova?
Her name is Nova, and she looks a lot like this actress.
Okay.
Obviously it's not going to be the same person, but I think they're maybe setting up that this could be like the grandmother or mother of Nova, who is in those later
I
movies
see.
with Charlton Heston kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier about the treatment of like the
Mm-hmm.
apes, and how you weren't expecting how it wasn't that bad. I
Yeah.
think I think because it gets worse.
Right. I've seen some of the original.
Like they are in the original, they are in cages, and
yes.
and like the humans are, and they're stuffed, like they're like, you know, cut open and stuff, right? Like they treat them like, our humans have treated animals.
Yeah, sure.
So anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to say, and I guess we can talk about the end.
Yeah, so what I was trying to be coy around is they just find the other entrance to get in the place.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, wouldn't you send your apes all around and say, look for holes, look for air, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so and then, you know, the blowing of the doors to flood it, I don't know if that would necessarily ruin or kill enough of them for those weapons to not be used. But like a gun, you can shoot it underwater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then for them to like turn the power on and that contact the other human tribes that are underground. I don't know. We're 1,000 years after. Those bunkers can't last 1,000 years with people in them, you know. But I get it. You got to set up future shit. So I just hope the future shit means they pick up here. So many movies do a thing where they say, here's what's going to be in the next movie, and never come back to it ever.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It just happened to something recently, like The Fall Guy or something. I'm like, we'll never see this again. Why even tease us with it, you know? But they have to do it just in case.
Well, I didn't really necessarily love that, but I kind of left the theater going, wow, this is really cool, because this could lead us. If
you're right, if your theory's right, that is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I was thinking that, I don't know, like, are they? I did show you that thing that they're planning to have 9 movies in total.
Yeah.
So now this is their 4th, so there would be 5 more.
And I guess it would line up, because at the end of that movie, right, that's the famous scene where he's on the beach saying, "No, you maniacs." Where he sees the Statue of Liberty's head.
Yeah.
And if if we're in for that in the future, then someone discovering that Statue of Liberty hundreds of years later could then say, "Holy shit, we're on Earth. That was us. You maniacs." Yeah.
So, and then I have a question, because in the original Planet of the Apes, it was a nuclear bomb
that right?
That ended the world.
And how does that movie start? They're just crossing by and they stop at this planet they don't know is Earth, right?
No, yeah, so they're in the plane, they're in the shuttle, and they wake up, and it's like the year 3255, and they're heading towards the planet. One of their other people in hypersleep has died. There's only 3 of them, and they crash on this planet, and they have no idea it's Earth. Yeah.
You said no.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I just mean it starts off with them in the ship. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. But they somehow get to this planet they later find out is Earth, right?
Yeah, it's they basically went right back around, which I don't understand. But anyways.
Yeah, you'd think they would have maps and know what our solar system looks like.
I don't know how it happened.
But whatever.
And so, which makes me wonder if, eventually, if they do these 9 movies, let's say, if eventually
9 movies. So wait, another 5?
Yeah. So would that 5th one, would that last one be basically a remake of the Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah.
Basically, because I had a whole thing, and I know we're still in spoilers, but I just want to run my idea by you. Wouldn't it be so cool if we all of a sudden 4 years from now we see a trailer for a movie, and they just don't tell us what it is? It would be
cool. I know what you're gonna say.
You know what I'm saying? And then we just see people on a spaceship, and they've crash landed, and they're looking around, awesome. and they don't tell us, and then but it looks cool. So then we all go see the movie, and then we find out that this is another Planet of the Apes movie. They're remaking it, and I don't know. I just had this thought in my head, and I thought that would be really cool.
And I'll tell you, that would be 2 other movies I can think of.
Cloverfield?
That I had that experience. What?
Oh, I thought Cloverfield.
Cloverfield? 10 Cloverfield Lane, I had that experience, which blew my fucking mind, man.
Me too.
I was like, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Second one I just talked about with this weekend or past weekend with my mom, because she loves the movie Split so much.
Yeah.
She typed
Yeah.
into our group chat, and she has never seen Unbreakable. So she's
my
like
gosh.
talking, and she's like, "Hey, I watched Split again," and she's like, "What's with Bruce Willis at the end of this movie? That must be something else, right?" And I'm like, "Oh my god."
You gotta go watch Unbreakable.
Yeah, I'm like, you gotta see it. And I
Yeah.
remember being in the theater for Split. I was in the front row. The theater was so sold out. I went last minute. I couldn't believe it. Front row center. I was squished between two people I didn't know. And that ending part comes, and everybody knows. Like enough people in it had seen Unbreakable, so they all erupted, and the others around us were like, "What the fuck are they, going over?" So yes, that would be a super cool theory if that happened.
That's just what I like, because it could start off like they could even be in space like the first 25 half hour of the movie or whatever, and then they land, and then all of a sudden we see apes and humans that don't talk. I don't know. It could be really cool, but same here. So.
All right, so Humane, 2024 movie directed by Caitlin Cronenberg, who you might recognize that last name, is daughter of
David Cronenberg.
David, thank you.
And brother to Brandon Cronenberg.
Yeah, Brandon. Good.
Who just did Possessor.
Yes.
So now his sister is getting in the game with Humane.
And so she makes this movie. It's kind of a chamber piece. I think I've heard that term to describe a movie like this, where it's all set in one place, and that helps keeps budgets down, but can also make
a
for
bottle
great
episode of a TV show.
Yep, it's all set in one house. And so here's just kind of what it's about. So in the wake of an environmental collapse that's forced humanity to shed 20% of its population, a family dinner erupts into chaos when a father's plan to enlist in the government's new euthanasia program goes horribly awry. The environmental problem looks like sun related because everyone outside is protecting themselves from the sun. So maybe the sun, which it will do this eventually, has grown in size once it goes to its red dwarf stage. But that's going to be billions of years from now, so that wouldn't have happened anytime soon. But we have Jay Baruchel. I'm trying to think of anybody else you would know. Peter Gallagher. He's a face you'll know. I didn't recognize his name, but you definitely know who that is.
I know Emily Hampshire because she was in Schitt's Creek.
That's right.
And I love her. So, and obviously this is sorry, I'm not going to cut you off, but this is a very Canadian movie. It was filmed in Canada. These are all Canadian actors.
Yes, it's super Canadian.
Yeah.
And there's a woman in this name, Alana Bale, who, if you told me was Elizabeth Olsen, I might have believed you.
Oh, yeah.
This chick looks very much like Elizabeth Olsen. And speaking of Emily Hampshire, she was in the movie Mother with Jennifer Lawrence.
Was she really?
Yeah, she was one of the partygoers that
I missed that.
Kept popping up a few times.
I think that was before I saw her on Schitt's Creek because she ended up having she had a pretty big, 90s career in movies that I didn't know about. So
yeah.
So,
and then who is the main not police officer, but task force guy in this?
Yeah.
Is that Martin Roach? Nope. That's the black guy. Damn it. Oh, well. I'm not going to hold
Enrico
it up.
Colantoni.
Yeah.
Is his name.
So he's been in Contagion, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood most recently.
Yeah.
He's a very well-known character actor. He was in AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. So a lot of semi-recognizable faces here. Okay, so Jay Baruchel and Emily Hampshire play the successful son and daughter of Peter Gallagher, right?
Yeah.
Peter Gallagher's the dad.
Yes.
Peter Gallagher's
dad. Charles, yeah.
Who you know from American Beauty, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Burlesque, Hudsucker Proxy, tons of stuff.
And there's also another sister and then another stepbrother.
Yeah. So we have 4 kids here. Some are step, some are full-blooded. So there's some resentment there. I think this movie fails pretty badly, unfortunately. The idea has a kernel of stuff to be explored here, but the Caitlin Cronenberg here just doesn't nail it. Doesn't nail it at all, really. They're so blunt with the messaging. So it's all surface level crap that we've seen in other places, and kind of feel bad being harsh to this being a first time director. But I don't count her as a first time director when her father is David Cronenberg. Sorry.
but you have to feel like I don't feel like obviously she's a nepo baby,
And she
but I
didn't
feel
write
like
this.
she didn't.
No, it was written and produced by Michael Spargara, who I don't recognize from anything. He has a couple
Okay.
credits, but um, you know, and I don't really have I want to say this. I don't have problems with nepotism because
Me
I think it's
neither.
unfair. Yeah, I think we might have talked about this before. It's kind of unfair to lob that criticism against Hollywood people when if your dad's a plumber, what business do you get into? Plumbing.
Yeah.
When your dad
Yeah.
works in the car business, you work for car. Like you just do
My
what your
dad
parents do. That's where
was a
you learn.
grocer. I did it for 15 years.
Exactly, right?
You
Like
know.
so your parents are actors or in creative arts, like you're gonna try it out, of course,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just so I don't hold nepotism against people that bad. Like actually one of our favorite podcasts, the Film Vault, one of their hosts, Anderson Cowan, he can't stand it. He thinks it's
Yeah.
unfair. And
Yeah.
I can see his perspective too, trying to break into the industry as
Yeah.
not someone with that in your family.
Yeah.
But again, like with Caitlin Cronenberg being the daughter, the access to tools and just talking to her father about movie making makes me think you should do a little better than this. In that, um, the premise just wouldn't work the way they described it. We don't get to know enough about the outside world. Um, and then what I said earlier about the surface level stuff, it's like, oh, they're against illegals or people of color. They're oppressed more than anyone else. People with money don't get more. And so in the description, you enlist to be euthanized to save resources. So old people, poor people, whatever, and the government's apparently paying you $250,000 or something, quite a bit of money,
Yeah.
to go be offered to be euthanized. And
So then that money goes to your family when you
yeah,
die, and
yeah. And I was thinking of that. It's like, and the euthanasia isn't a gun to the head. It's you're put in
yeah,
bed and you're given an IV and you just fall
yeah,
asleep. So it's not like
yeah,
bad or anything. But
yeah,
just an example of things that bugged me while I'm watching this is they come to the house to perform this. There are two people that are going to do it. One of them chickens out,
yeah,
and instead of that people that came to do the euthanasia to say, okay, well, we'll take you and not, they're like, no, we need a second body. We're not leaving this
yeah.
house till we get a second body. It's like, okay, come on. And then for them to call or write their internet, they say, oh no, we scrambled the house. What does that mean? But yet when they throw a phone out the window, it works. They must scramble it just right so that the neighbors don't get affected. So there's way more than that just stuck out to me. And I thought the acting was a little crunchy, like not that great here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I really didn't like this much at all, man. What'd you think
That's
of
too
it?
bad. I had a good time with this
Oh, good.
movie.
I'm glad you did. I wish I'd liked this.
But like I'm still only 2.5 on this. Like I think it definitely could have been better. The script definitely could have been run through a couple more times. They could
Definitely.
have fixed some things. It felt like, it was like shot in like 2 days, and
None of
it
these people
felt
seem related at all.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's the supposed junkie character who's a recovering addict,
yeah,
and he walks with a cane because he killed somebody, maybe in like a DUI crash. I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Whatever. It's not really.
yeah.
But this guy looks nothing like any of these other people, and a lot of kids don't look like their parents, but this guy looks nothing like he's from
No.
another continent than these people.
Yeah.
And
And
that's not a big detail in movies that are really really good. But again, once I'm like having trouble making beliefs, these little things
yeah.
start to stick out.
I liked the conflict between the characters once it happened. I
Yeah,
found it like I don't. It was almost like watching like trashy TV, like when you're
yeah,
watching The Real Housewives, and you're like okay, but then you're kind of like in it, You're like, oh well, I'm interested in the outcome of this, and I was drawn in, and I was interested, and I liked the characters. Like no, they're awful characters. They're all horrible people,
yeah.
but I liked that. The the part I didn't really like, I couldn't have cared less about Bob and
Oh,
you know
that
talking to
little
the little
girl. Oh my
girl.
god.
I was like, I couldn't. It kept going
Why
up to
was
that, and
she
I'm
in the movie at
yeah,
all? I think I put in my review that stop with the kids in movies. If a kid,
yeah,
it's so hard to get a kid actor to do it right. It just is. That's just how things are. It sucks. It's unfortunate. You want to give kids chances, and there are lots of good kid performances.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of them. But this kid, it's just not working. They're like, so Mitch is talking about there's a kid at the dinner. The dad says, "Don't bring anybody but yourself. I have important things to tell you. Can't get a babysitter." She comes. So the kid goes out with the task force, the euthanasia task force, and sits in the van while things get figured out in the house. And yeah, their banter is really corny. And just the attitude that Bob has. He makes jokes when he wouldn't. You know, it's just again, like you said, Mitch, I completely agree.
Yeah.
This script needed to be gone through a couple more times.
Yeah. This, you know what? There is something good here.
Yes.
There's some good moments.
Yep.
And I can see that, because you wouldn't have given it 1.5 stars if you didn't see the good in this movie.
Exactly. It's a good idea. There's stuff here.
Yeah. But
and you know
unfortunately,
what? I heard another critic say this that I think nailed it. Alonso Duralde from therap.com.
Okay.
He said this is likely a script that was cut from Black Mirror season 3 or something.
Yeah.
This makes for a perfect Black Mirror
expanded
episode.
into a full movie.
Yeah, runtime. And it's barely an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it's not a big ask.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say it's like don't watch it. I'm not going to say that, but like you said, I gave it a 1.5 star. Could be 2.
Yeah.
If this sounds semi-interesting to you, like I think my mom might enjoy this one. I'm probably going to recommend this to her. She likes thrillers, and this isn't too bloody or gory or, you know, there's nothing offensive in this movie.
Yeah.
So
no, it's not.
Yeah, lots of exposition delivered by news stations, and those look pretty doctored. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's it's a rough go. Hopefully she'll get another chance to make something. Because you hear that, you know, the name Cronenberg carries a lot of weight.
It does.
Especially after we got Possessor by Brandon. That was a huge, awesome movie for horror fans.
And then his last one, wasn't it Infinity Pool? Is that what it was?
Infinity Pool, yeah. Which wasn't as good, but still.
Wasn't for me, but.
Like, you know, or people listening to this, the name Cronenberg is known for body horror. That's what he made his bones on, and there is none of that in here.
No, which is fine if she wants to break out and do her own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But you know, I bring those expectations with me when the father and the son do these like really horrific, bloody scenes, and we get a little bit. Someone gets cut into or something, or stitching, or a bullet, or I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, we don't have to spend too much more time on that. That's Humane. It's in theaters. It's probably going to be on streaming. I bet you this will be on Shudder.
Yes, I think it is already. It went to theaters and VOD, so you can already rent it.
That's right.
Yes. So we were going to quickly just talk about Abigail. I think you did talk about this a little bit.
Right, yeah. Tell me what you think about it. Yeah, so this is now on streaming. Came to theaters. Made by the Ready or Not and Scream guys, right?
Yeah, so basically this group of people, they capture this young girl, and they're doing it for a bunch of money, and they just got to watch her for 24 hours before the money can go through, and then the ransom and all that, and then they split. You got Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, Kevin Durand. So I watched 2 movies last week where Kevin Durand just absolutely fucking killed it.
Yeah.
Which is one thing we didn't say in our review. He was a great Proxima Caesar. Like, so good.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was him until after.
Yeah, like I didn't know either. So my friend texted me and was like, wasn't Kevin Durand great? And I was like, that was him?
Yeah.
Like, he's putting on this voice. And then in Abigail, he's the best part. Like, he's hilarious. Definitely. And he's dumb. He plays that stupid character, but it's not like but anyways, this turns, you can tell from the trailers they give it away, but this turns out to be a vampire movie.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, obviously they're trying to get people into the theaters, but it's too bad that they gave it away, because you don't find out until like into the second act, you know, that something's going on. And then but this young girl, oh my god, Alicia Weir, she was so good.
On our previous comment about kids in movies, this is the total opposite. She fucking nailed this role, and the
Yes.
movie wouldn't work without her being really good, and she was excellent.
She's crying, and then she's menacing, and then she's creepy, and then she's like
Got to
sad
be
and
contorting herself, and
oh
she's just good. She's just
yeah,
all around great, and she's got to be all of 11, 12.
yeah.
I think her character's like 10 or so in the movie.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
9.
first act is rough. A lot of like stupid dialogue
I
and
almost left in the first act.
yeah, like
Not
I thought
that I would come back later, but you know how I do a lot of times since I see movies basically for free. I'll often leave if I'm like super bored and just bed feels better at the time, but then I'll come back later.
yeah,
But keep going. The first act is
yeah,
rough.
it is rough. It's just like a lot of like people like those crappy lines like exposition. It's
Yeah.
obvious exposition. It's irritating. It's like
One
oh my
annoying
God.
character kind of goes around the room to be like, "So, what's your deal, Mister?
Yeah,
Nice shoes over there." Just stupid
yeah.
lines to get
I
people
can
to talk.
tell you are exactly
Yeah.
like this, and
Just looking at you, I know that your mother died when you were 6, and you tried weed when you were 14. Yeah, it's
which
like,
we didn't need. They were like,
not
they were
really.
fine. Even Catherine Newton didn't annoy me in this, which she usually does.
Oh
But
yeah.
and you know what? The only other thing I'll say is, we finally got our ballerina vampire movie.
After Megan.
No, which reminds me of, I don't know if you have seen Cabin in the Woods.
Oh yeah.
But there was that
Oh,
evil ballerina. It wasn't a vampire, but I was like, this is like the closest thing we're gonna get to like a full movie of that evil ballerina.
Mitch, if I hadn't seen Cabin in the Woods, that's a movie
I'd
where
be so mad at you.
Yeah, like you would have to say, like, please, you need to like make that a priority tomorrow, because that's a like staple in horror movies. It's a takedown.
Yes.
I mean, it's like it's every horror movie in one, and it just rips all the conventions apart, and it has a cool cast. And anyway,
and I will say that Angus Cloud is in this as well. This is his last movie because he died this year or last year, I think.
Yeah, and so my review of
he was good.
He was. They were
just all
fun. Good. Melissa Barrera. I have the hots for her. She was awesome. It didn't do all that great at the box office for a horror movie. Horror movies can do better. Megan did better than this. Speaking of,
for sure.
Or what was the one where the Stranger Things kid was stuck in the basement with I
was just looking at this movie recently.
What is it?
I don't know. I can't remember.
To me. No. Come on. It has.
The Black Phone.
Black Phone. So so Megan Black Phone did better financially than this one, but I will say like one criticism I have about this movie is it does feel a lot like Ready or Not, which was another movie that these guys did.
Sure.
That's great. Yeah. I really liked Ready or Not, but this felt a lot like it. I'm like, I've kind of seen a lot of this recently from you guys, which is, if this was the only thing they had done and that, then it would be like, all right, you guys got to do something else. But since they have done the new Scream movies, they get a pass because those are completely different and fine and fun.
Yeah.
So I like this. This is a good, like, straight down the barrel. If you like horror and scary, this isn't too bad. It's not too horrific. It's not too scary.
I don't think if you like horror movies, and you watch this, no, you're not going to hate it.
Right.
Like, I can't see you walking away being like, wow, that was complete trash.
Right. I completely agree. If you like horror in any way, you'll watch this and you'll either like it a lot or you'll think, that was fine.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to walk and say, holy shit, that was terrible. What were they talking about?
All right. Speaking of terrible, why don't you tell us about the 2 awful movies you have seen in the last week?
All right. So I'll be quick about this. Tarot is currently in theaters now. This is a total cash grab movie. And what was the other name it had? I told you this had a different name.
The kid from you mean name of the movie?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It used to be called something else. It is just awful PG-13 horror at its worst. Haunted tarot cards. Come the fuck on. It's not as bad as a haunted pool or a haunted teddy bear, which we've both seen so far this year in Imaginary and whatever the other movie was. But you have the kid from Spider-Man is in this.
Ned.
Yeah, Ned from Spider-Man. and then a couple other younger actors who are up and comers. I didn't recognize any of them. Did you?
I haven't seen it, but
Okay.
I don't. The only one I recognize was Jacob Batalon, who is Ned from.
Yeah, Jacob. Thank you
But
for his
yeah,
name.
yeah.
So it's 90 minutes. It's barely a full movie. It's got the mystical Spanish person who has all the answers, which you have in so many horror
I
movies.
hate
It's
that.
really dark. Like the scenes are dark, so hard to see. Tons of jump scares. You get a kind of a Final Destination knockoff here because everyone's being taken out one by one. But a lot of this shit's off screen because I got to withhold this PG-13 rating. So it's just ridiculous and embarrassing. Um, really dumb characters that are super annoying. A like terrible bad relationship, which you just can see from a mile away. It's like, oh, they're gonna have a little butting heads, and then they'll get back together. And then just like lines, like I wrote down this one line. Someone says in a like huff, "I think you're trying to make sense of something, and there's no sense to make." And I guess that doesn't
God.
sound that bad now, but in the movie, it was so stupid. Whole bunch of ADR. Um,
Uh,
like I said, they go to the old mystic woman who knows everything. Those tarot cards, oh, I remember those from the olden days. They're haunted, definitely. Yeah, oh yeah. And they do the pronoun game, which that's a thing from CinemaSins where, and I wish I didn't know this because then I wouldn't notice it, but this is a thing where someone will say, "Oh, you'll wake him," so the other character has to say, "Who's him?" So in this,
yeah,
they're like,
right.
"Oh, you don't want to anger him," which no one would ever say. You would say, "You don't want to anger the devil," or "You don't want to anger Mitch or Tony or whoever."
You
So
do
they do
not want
that
anger.
thing. Tons of exposition just dumped. Each character is constantly saying, "This is the history of tarot, and this is how it was." And they look it up on their computer, which is so exciting to watch someone Google something. Of course, they all split up when they get into a scary
Oh,
situation.
you have
Go to
to.
different parts of the house.
Yeah.
And then someone goes into a police station. It's the darkest police station you've ever seen. There's no lights. There's no people.
Lights are probably flickering, right?
Yes,
Creepy
one is flickering in the
corners.
back. There's a sign that says "We'll be back in 15 minutes" at a police station. They're in a huge city. They're
But they
not
left the
in.
door unlocked
They're not.
and said we'll be
Yes.
back, and like there's
Yes.
guns in police. Like that's so dumb.
It's
Oh my
really
god.
bad, man. And then yeah, so many off-screen deaths, and I put, oh, no wonder it's PG-13. The couple that's in a relationship don't seem like friends, let alone people that are dating at all.
I hate that.
At all. These people
Yeah.
like walk off set and never speak to each other again. Very last thing that I have to say is the creature design was okay. There's some
Okay.
work put into it, kind of spooky and creepy at some point. So that's tarot. Do not see it. It is
I
awful. I
will.
gave it a half star. I hope I forget about this movie.
Before you jump into the next one, I just it was based on a book called Horror Scope.
That's right. Thank you.
So it was based on the 1992 book called Horror Scope.
Yeah.
Also, it's been a pretty rough year for horror films.
It
Blumhouse has failed twice with Imaginary and Night Swim, both which kind of broke their budgets, but were ridiculed. This was released by Screen Gems.
Yeah,
So
Sony Screen Gems, yep.
yeah, and then Universal did Abigail, which I think Abigail is the only one that's gotten some good praise.
And is the only one worth of anything out of that list of Imaginary, Night Swim, and Tarot. Don't see any of them.
Been a rough year.
Imaginary, Mitch, if you ever get around to it, that
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. So
didn't like it.
No, but it could be a so bad it's good drunk friend movie watch and laugh at because it's got some ridiculous shit.
Yeah, I think Night Swim is that though.
Oh yeah,
like a haunted pool. Come on.
Yeah.
It was so dumb.
There's a scene, and this is so off topic. There's a scene in Imaginary where a older teenager boy comes over to flirt with and sit on the couch and Netflix and chill with the new teenage girl that moves in, right? And he's like, "Hey, you want to take some ecstasy or whatever?" He pulls out a bag of pills. And, of course, she's like, "Oh, no, I would never do that in a PG-13 movie," of course. But later, the mom comes over and is like, "Trevor, those are my vitamin pills. Give me that back. That's not ecstasy, right?" That
was actually kind of funny.
That was funny. That's the one funny thing. But yeah,
stop trying to... Yeah.
Yeah, stop. He was trying to, act cool like he had drugs, but they were her fucking, vitamin pills. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, on to the next one that I'll be quick with.
Poolman.
Poolman. So this made news out of Toronto. This made news out of TIFF. This is directed and, oh my God, written by Chris Pine and starring Chris Pine. This is the Chris Pine Show.
Mhm.
Chris Pine is one of the 4 Hollywood Chris's. If you guys remember, he is the one that's in Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984. That's him. He has beautiful blue eyes. He's a handsome man.
Yep.
And in this, he plays the Big Lebowski. This stars Chris Pine, Danny DeVito, this cast. Annette Bening, Jennifer Jason Leigh, DeWanda Wise, remember her?
Love her. Imaginary.
Me too, Imaginary. Speaking of Imaginary.
Stephen
Tobolowsky, who is an awesome... he's a well-known character actor. He is in Groundhog Day. That's his big makeout role. He plays Needle-Nosed Ned the Head in Groundhog Day. John Ortiz, Ray Wise. There's a few other notables in that in there. But again, Danny DeVito, Annette Bening, Jennifer Jason Leigh. So you have this great cast. But here's the story. Darren Behrman is an unwavering optimist and native Angelino. Spends his days looking after the pool of a little tiny apartment complex and fighting to make his hometown a better place to live. So he's one of the crazy people that goes to every city council meeting and bitches to the whoever is sitting at the desk to say, change the bus schedule, rebuild trains, like tons of shit that they either have no control of or that will take more than just one person complaining. And, I don't want to rag on that too much because one person can make changes, but he goes in there in his flip-flops, he rants incoherently, and he causes a fight and gets arrested, not just kicked out, but arrested. Total loser, can't see the forest through the trees, and is just the Big Lebowski. I mean, he is just Lebowski in this movie. And this is a remake of Chinatown, the famous movie from 1968.
It's actually a remake?
Pretty much. They reference it in the movie. They even say this is like Chinatown. They visit Chinatown, Los Angeles in it. They reenact a couple scenes from it. I remember I was asking you the other day if you'd seen it. I went to YouTube and watched some of it to figure it out. But yeah, this is just a total misfire, and unfortunately for Chris Pine, because I like Chris Pine.
Yeah,
but this sucks bad, man. Bad. It has a 2.
And it's supposed to be funny, and it's not.
You there, Mitch? Hello, Mitch. Hello.
Oh, hold on. We got an internet thing.
Mitch, did I lose you?
If you can still see me.
Hello, Mitch.
Hey.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry, man. Sorry. My internet just completely cut out. I have my cord.
That's okay.
From now on, I'm gonna connect to the router. But
okay.
So this is like Poolman is supposed to be funny, right? Like it's a comedy.
Yeah, it's supposed to be funny, and I don't remember laughing at all at any of it. Tobolowsky. So I'm gonna give something away that's a reveal in the movie because nobody's gonna see this.
Yeah.
Tobolowsky plays the judge or the city council member, so he's wearing like judge robes. We then see him in a drag bar wearing a full woman's outfit. I'm talking like wig, makeup, glasses, boobs. And I know Stephen Tobolowsky from podcasts. He's been on tons and tons of movie podcasts. He's a huge movie guy. And it's hilarious seeing him in the drag getup. And a point in this movie, Chris Pine discovers him, and Tobolowsky's like, "You're not going to reveal to my family that I'm Blanche, are you?" And Chris Pine's like, "What? No. Oh, what do you mean? No, I don't care about that." He only cares about the city council stuff. So it never even crossed his mind to tell his family that he does this stuff in drag at a show. And he's like doing acting. It's not even a burlesque show. But anyway, that was the one funny thing. The rest is just this raving lunatic running around town trying to uncover some perceived mystery. Is there really something going on or not? Annette Bening plays his counselor, but she's also his landlord. And it's just bad. There's lots of improvising you can tell. And I'm sure it was all very funny on the set, but it does not translate. So I can't believe I finished this movie. I stayed till the end. And
another movie like that. Basically, you just explained Unfrosted, which is the new Jerry Seinfeld comedy. And you basically described it because it has an even bigger cast. You got Seinfeld, Melissa McCarthy, Jim Gaffigan, Hugh Grant, Amy Schumer, Max Greenfield, Rachel Harris, Bill Burr, Christian Slater, Sarah Cooper, Cedric the Entertainer's in this.
And Jim Gaffigan,
Yes, Jim Gaffigan, and then
Patrick Warburton,
Daryl Warren, John Slattery, John Hamm,
Kyle
Peter
Duncan.
Dinklage shows up, Bobby Moynihan, like a lot of people, Jack McBrayer. I'm just saying, Seinfeld called in every fucking favor he had with this movie.
Hugh Grant,
And
did you already say him?
Yeah, Hugh Grant, and like Hugh Grant is wasted in this movie. And his whole storyline is fucking bullshit. He plays like a guy, he's like an actor, and he pretends to be like, oh, I'm a well-known actor, but all he does is like put on the Tony the Tiger costume, and then he like wears that around, and he'll be Tony the Tiger, and then there's a whole storyline with that could have been totally cut because it was just totally unfunny.
Oh, that's too bad. Did you laugh at anything in this movie? Because I've heard there's a couple funny parts.
What I wanted to start with is the few things that I did like. First off, Melissa McCarthy, she's always great. She gives this her all. You know what I mean? She's saying things that are unfunny, but she is doing it, and she's doing her job. I love her. She always gives it her all, I find. Even
you like her in even her bad movies?
Yes, I think she's one of our funniest working female actors, and like it's just too bad that like, you know, comedies are just so bad these days, a lot of them.
Yeah, I will never stop singing her praises in Can You Ever Forgive Me? That movie was fantastic.
No.
Totally dramatic movie, no comedy. She is excellent in it.
She is. So she's great. The Bill Burr cameo is one of the best parts.
He plays the president, right?
He plays JFK, and it's really funny. As an American, you might get more out of it. There's two kids in this who are hilarious. They have like a couple parts. They keep going into like the dumpsters to eat the food that these places that these companies have left, and they're like, so they're funny.
Okay, all right.
Other than that, it is it's just so unfunny, and the tone is awful. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Is this for kids? Is this for adults? Is this for the family? It's like, you know, the jokes are just blah, like
first try kind of jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like everybody was working hard to make this movie good, and the script was just awful. Like there wasn't any good jokes in it.
Yeah, there was a lot of marketing around this. That got passed. I don't know. I think it was marketing spin. You know, like
with Seinfeld.
From Seinfeld. I'm trying not to be fooled by this shit these days. Of him, like they get a quote of him saying like comedy is woke now, and it's like, to me that's just a smart marketer saying, hey, say something like a little controversial or something, and we'll get a bunch of headlines. You know, I feel like I think that happens a lot more than we'd like to think, and it gets everybody up in arms. Oh, comedian, you know, you're out of touch, and you get free press, tons of free press.
He's gotten a lot.
He's gotten a ton. He's gotten a ton of it, and
like I've been kind of keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, if I got people to watch it, then it worked. And you know, so that's a bummer. So this was number one on Netflix's streaming charts over the weekend.
Yeah.
But not by much. I saw the chart.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just barely a number one. So yeah, it's not doing that good, but
that's too bad.
That's a bummer. I will probably eventually get to this.
No, don't.
But the other big movie that came out this weekend for streaming was The Idea of You, Anne Hathaway. Tell me about that. I want to see it. I heard this is actually pretty good.
So this movie is, a lot of people are saying that this is based on a story and like a fan fiction story that happened with Harry Styles talking to an older woman, blah, blah, blah. So 40-year-old single mom Solene, played by Anne Hathaway, begins an unexpected relationship or romance with a 24-year-old Hayes Campbell, the lead singer of August Moon, the hottest boy band on the planet. So it just sounds stupid, and I said normally I would never watch something like this, but I like Anne Hathaway.
Me too.
I like the press she's been doing for this movie, and the way she's just been, you know, talking, and I love her. So
And it's directed by Michael Showalter, who did The Big Sick last,
Oh, okay.
which is an Oscar-winning movie. He also did The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I loved.
Yeah, me too. So I gave this 3.5 stars. I don't
Cool.
really think I have like a ton to say. It's just this is just a better than average romance movie where I liked all the characters. I liked Anne Hathaway's character. I liked the the guy, and it was really interesting. There's scenes later on where it's just very interesting where it goes and the finale and stuff. Like, like you expect a certain kind of thing, but it's not.
Yeah, and I think that's good. We're giving this some good mention on our show because we're not the target audience, say, for romantic comedies, and
Yeah,
I don't like that stereotype or preconceived idea being
yeah,
true. Because it is true. There's not too many. Like, I would much rather probably see this than Anyone But You, that Sydney Sweeney rom-com. That one
yeah,
is just
yeah.
stupid and kind of on purpose. Where this seems like it might have some meaning and feeling, and the writer director believes in this, or just it comes from a different angle.
Yeah, because I really I cared about the characters. She has a daughter who is basically about the same age and used to have a crush on this guy when she was
Right.
into the band kind of thing. And I liked all the characters. I liked where it went. It went into some places that were very real and I think would hit home. Um, you know, like I can't even get into it, but this is very good. It's on
Cool.
Amazon Prime streaming now. If you like romance movies at all in that kind of way, I recommend this. I think it was well worth it. So
Cool. Yeah, I eventually want to get to this. And the only other thing I want to say about this is it's still interesting to me of the double standard that still exists today. It just is the way things are. But
yeah,
a 40-year-old man being into a 24-year-old pop star would be seen very differently.
I know.
I just want to point that out. That's it. I'm not mad about it.
I know.
It's just
I
how
thought
things
about
are.
that a lot.
It's just weird. It's just I wish it wasn't that way. I just wish it wasn't that way. I wish it was. I wish things were different, but they're not. So that's how it is.
But we have seen a lot of movies where it's been an older man and a younger woman.
You're right. Manhattan is a famous movie
right.
that's like that.
And we're and by the end we're like, okay, this seems like they're kind of meant for each other or whatever, right?
Yeah. Or they could have a successful relationship.
They
Let's
could,
just say
yeah.
that.
Maybe it's a little weird or whatever, but
You're
anyways.
right. You're right. It can be and has been portrayed the reverse in okay ways, and it doesn't feel predatory, especially in someone who's 24. 24.
Yeah.
You're a full-blooded adult.
But that's the thing is though, you don't see everything that goes on behind closed doors, and this movie does show you that, right? Like the conversations they have and stuff. So it's definitely watch it and decide for yourself. Before we end,
that's the idea of you with Anne Hathaway. All right,
3.5 stars for me. Before we end, I just want to talk about. I'm not going to even say anything about it, but there's a movie on Shudder. I talked about it briefly because I hadn't finished it last episode, but I have now. It's called Infested.
Oh yeah.
It is a French spider movie and it is very good. It's to me, it was like Attack the Block meets Arachnophobia. It's a lot like Attack the Block. Like they're in this apartment building, and then all of a sudden there's these spiders, and and the way it all works out, it is. I'm still creeped out from this movie, and I don't get creeped out I don't like spiders either. So, but I like to watch things that'll creep me out. But this one creeped me out. So
I really love Attack the Block. So I might.
You'll be be kind of grabbing yourself, looking in your shirt to make sure there's not a spider in there. This movie really makes you squeamish. So
and then also before we go, I want to say coming to theaters this weekend is the movie If.
Yes.
And then, like I said, I'll be at the Strangers collecting audience scores. And then I think Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse one.
Yep. Back to Black.
And then, like I said, the Blue Angels IMAX presentation. So if you have an IMAX near you, check it out. And that's about it. There's some other stuff, but yeah.
Back to Black is getting poor early reviews.
No.
Yeah, and I put it on my
I was gonna say, isn't that one
Summer
of your?
movie
You
wager.
think that'll make more money than Despicable Me? You crazy?
Shut up. Okay. Thank you everyone for
I think
listening.
you
This has
are.
been.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, you faded.
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh, Jesus. I won't. I'll make sure this doesn't happen last time. But thank you everyone for listening. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all that jazz.
Yeah. Next week we'll have. I'll see probably all those movies we just mentioned. If
Yeah, I think
Strangers and
so.
Back to Black.
Yeah, I'm
And,
hoping If is
whatever you get.
good.
Me too.
Like,
That's a real could go either way.
I know, like Wonka-ish good, like Wonka
Yeah.
level.
Looking
I'm
back, I
hoping
remember
it's.
liking Wonka more than I didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Wonka was better than any, and than it had any right to be. It could have been just crappy, and it was fun.
Exactly.
It was fun. But yeah, okay. Thanks, Mitch. Great
We'll
to talk to you
guys
as always.
soon. Yes.
All right, man. Peace. And hit it. I stole this from work.
Man.